Hey everybody, welcome back. As always, thank you for your support. Before we get started on the header page and the grid, I want to acknowledge that I'm on a road trip and in Wetaskiwin, which is on Treaty 6 territory. Today's work and content was produced on Treaty 6 and Métis ancestral lands, the gathering place of many Indigenous people. This is where I will participate in the hard work of truth and reconciliation. When you are reviewing rods on a PDF, there are two different visual styles of rods. The technical standard has the criteria listed for required information, but there's two different layouts basically. In this Ravens recap, I'm touching on things to look for and note right away. In the older days of paper logs, the header portion was where most of the form and manner stuff was found. In the ELD world, the header contains valuable data. The technical standard 4.8.2.1.1 outlines the required information is as follows: driver last name, driver first name, ELD username for the driver, driver license issuing jurisdiction, driver license number, co-driver last name, co-driver first name, ELD username for the co-driver, commercial motor vehicle power unit number, commercial motor vehicle VIN, trailer numbers, carrier name, home terminal address, principal place of business address, cycle used, day starting time, time zone offset from UTC, exempt driver configuration, current date, current time, current latitude, current longitude, current total vehicle distance, current total engine hours, ELD certification ID, ELD identifier, ELD authentication value, and output file comment. First thing to note is there are fields populated in the example PDF, but those fields are not in the required information for the header page. It's not that the information isn't available, it's just not in the same place depending on which ELD generated the PDF. First thing to check is the carrier name and address and principal place of business. Make sure everything matches compared to the SFC. Little side vibe here. Before you had to have a divided record authority permit to have your records in a different office than the home terminal on the SFC. The new rule is a carrier gets 2 weeks to bring paper records for review, but in reality most records are electronic now, so it's a moot point. In order to have an SFC in Alberta, you need an address in Alberta where the business is conducted, and IRP only requires 1 trip a year in or out or through Alberta to satisfy their residency requirements. Back to name and address and home terminal. This affects the time zone the rods are in, so if you start comparing fuel or DVIR and the time is weird, check the time zone before assuming it's false. Having a home terminal in Alberta and terminals in other provinces is not illegal. Cycle used most are 770, but 14120 is an option, which catches me once in a while too. Some ELDs have cycle used and remaining hours in the header, and some you have to go further down and look for the cycles. Exempt driver configuration. If a carrier is using the exempt driver function, there will be an E in that box. This means the driver operating that truck was exempt from using an ELD. You need to find out what the exemption was, and the carrier will have to produce alternative time records that meet the hours of service regulations. Current date and current time. These are always together. And if you're interested, there's a huge section in the technical standard about the time and conversions. Fill your boots. Current total vehicle distance. This is the total distance traveled, and it comes from the ECM. The ELD collects the odometer information whenever the truck is on. If the truck is running, the ELD is recording. This is where the technical standard has an if statement, 4.3.1.3 sub B. If the ELD can get the information from the ECM, that is what is supposed to happen. If, the famous if. If that is not possible because of whatever reason, then 4.3.1.3 sub C kicks in. The accumulated vehicle distance must be obtained or estimated from a source that is accurate to within plus or minus 10% of distance accumulated by the commercial vehicle over a day as indicated on the vehicle's odometer. Right? What? I get it. I talk about this more in the data diagnostic and malfunctions, but for now, you need a number in there and it should come from the ECM. Current total engine hours. Almost exactly the same as distance. You need a number in there and it should come from the ECM. ELD certification ID. This is the ELD model. You can check it on the certified device list. The ELD identifier is like a serial number for the rods, and the ELD authentication value verifies the authenticity of the ELD. If these are missing, don't panic. Check the Transport Canada list and then make sure that the device has had all its software updates. Doing the updates might fix that. If not, it might not be an ELD, but just the app version. Output file comment. If an inspector has a rod sent, there will be a comment in there. Hours of service grid. The grid is just like the grid of the glory days of paper logs. The only difference is now you will never have a form and manner violation for not completing the grid. Technical Standard 4.8.1.1 Printout Requirements. Printout must be able to accommodate the graphed grid specifications as listed in Provision 4.8.1.3 of the Technical Standard. 4.8.1.3 Information to be shown on the printout and display at roadside on the graph grid. Total hours, off-duty, sleeper berth, driving, and on-duty not driving. Sub C. The printout and display must show a graph grid consistent with the current hours of service regulation showing each change of duty status. Number 1. On the printout, the graph grid for each day's rods must be at least 15 centimeters by 4 centimeters in size. Number 2. On the printout, the geolocation information for each duty status change can be omitted on the graph grid. That's about it for the header page and the graph. Join me next time when we will look at the events list. Thanks for watching, and if you have any topics you would like to see or you have a question, send me an email at info@therodsgod.ca. Bye for now.